Good evening. Welcome to the class. Tonight we will discuss principles of servant leadership. Today we will define servant leadership and learn two principles of servant leadership. Before we start, I'd like to tell you a story about King Rehoboam. He's in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and in 2 Kings. King Rehoboam, he was a brand new king. His father passed away, and he took over the kingdom. His first day on the job, he gets a message from the prophet. The prophet is asking him to reduce the burden of taxes on the citizens, decrease their workload so that they would have a better life. They would be able to take care of their families and spend some time at home. The king decided that he would take it under consideration. He went in and had counsel with the elders, and the elders told him, "King, if you do this for the people, they'll serve you forever." The king told them, "Thank you." He took their advice. Then he went to the young people, those who he had went to school with, those he went to college with, those who he grew up with. And he pulled them together and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about where I am. This is what the people are asking for. What do you think?" And so they decided that, "King, if I was you, I would double down. I would tell them, I'm going to be harsher than my father, and I'm going to give you twice as many taxes, and I want twice as much expansion. I want my kingdom to be bigger than my dad's." So the king decided that that's the advice he would take. He went and told the people, "I will not serve you, but you will serve me. I'm going to make it twice as hard for you. You're going to get twice as many taxes, and we're going to double the kingdom." Unfortunately, King Rehoboam divided the kingdom and lost his kingdom. He died in ruin. Now, what does that story have to do with where we're going today, principles of servant leadership? What is a servant leader? Well, give me some suggestions. What do you think? What do you think is a servant leader? Well, how would you define servant leadership? Yes. Tell me, John, what do you think about servant leadership? Good answer. Good answer. Anyone else? Servant leadership. Yes. What do you think about servant leadership? Great. Let me capitalize this. Servant leadership is where the focus is on the people. The leader helps develop the people, help them to grow, and then he takes their purpose and lines it up with the mission and accomplishes the mission. Once again, a servant leadership, by definition, is one where the leader develops and grows the individual people. As they grow, he aligns their purpose with the mission and accomplishes the mission. That's what a servant leadership is. That's the definition of servant leadership. Servant leadership is about helping others to grow. Not yourself, but others to grow and to develop. And then as you do that, they will accomplish the mission. If King Rehoboam had been a servant leader, he would have been a lot more successful. Just think. If King Rehoboam had taken the people's request, reduced their taxes, reduced the amount of labor that they were taking on at that particular time, and allowed them to spend some time with their families, allowed them to reduce the tax burden, allowed them to have more time, more money for their families, the people would have, as they said, serve him forever. Just think, if the king does that for them, what would I not do for the king? That's servant leadership. It's not about you taking on more. It's about you taking care, as the leader, taking care of the people. So now, let's take out a piece of paper. There should be paper on your desk, and one should have servant leadership at the top. Take that piece of paper, and I would like for you to write down your definition based on what we talked about, your definition of servant leadership. Take 30 seconds and write down your definition. Thank you. Okay, great. Now, I would like for you to turn to your neighbor, and I want you to talk about your definitions of servant leadership, what it means to you. So go ahead and do that. It'll take 30 more seconds. You and your neighbor exchange your definitions of servant leadership. Wonderful. Great. Now, how was that discussion? I heard a lot going on over here, not as much over here. I'm joking. You guys were talking a lot. I appreciate that. I hope you got a better understanding. Servant leadership is not about you. It's about the other person. It really is about the people that report to you, getting them what they need so that they will be better. And as they produce, you produce as a leader. Now we're going to talk about two principles of servant leadership. The two principles of servant leadership that we're going to discuss tonight is servant and selfless servant. A servant leader is a servant. First, number one, primary servant. What does that mean? That means that whatever you need as the individual, that's what I need to take care of. I need to make sure that if you need a new laptop, I get it for you as a servant leader. You need a new chair. I need to make sure, John, you get your new chair. Susan, if you come to me and tell me your notebook doesn't work or your Wi-Fi is not connecting properly, I need to make sure that you get a new notebook and talk to IT and see, can we get your Wi-Fi working? Whatever it is you need, as the servant leader serving you, I need to make sure that I can get you whatever you need so that you can do what? Accomplish the mission. That's really what it's all about. If I can get you what you need, we can get the job accomplished. Servant leader's number one primary principle is to be a servant. The second principle of servant leader is selfless servant. Selfless servant. So number one is to be a servant. Number two is to be a selfless servant. What does that mean? We get 30 new notebooks in, and I take 2, and I tell you guys to divvy up the rest. No. As a servant leader and being a selfless servant, my job is to make sure everyone get what they need first, and I get mine second. In the military, when soldiers eat, when we're at the chow hall, at the dining facility, all of the soldiers eat first. Then the officers come in second or last and eat. But first, all of the soldiers, all of the enlisted personnel eat first. And then officers come in and eat last. Why is that? Selfless service. We want to make sure as officers, as leaders, that soldiers who's doing the bulk of the work, make sure that they get their nourishment, make sure that they get their rest, make sure that they get what they need so that they can accomplish the mission. As a leader, no matter where you are in the workplace, your job is to be a selfless servant. That is to make sure that those people reporting to you have what they need, number one, and number two, when goodies come in, they get theirs first, you get yours second. So tonight we discuss servant leader. What is a servant leader? We discussed the two principles of servant leadership, and that is being a servant, and number two, selfless servant. Now, there's a second paper on your desk that has principles on it. I would like for you to take a moment, write down on that paper the two principles. Servant leader as a servant, servant leader as a selfless servant. And think about where you work, where you're a leader at, and apply those two principles to where you lead. Fill in where you lead, how you can be a better servant, how you can be a better selfless servant. Take 30 seconds and write that down for me. Thank you. Great. Okay, thank you very much. Now, I'd like you once again, turn to a different neighbor and talk with them. And if that means getting up, going over here, and you're going over there, that's fine. Let's cross over. Let's have a conversation about where you work and how you can be a better servant in your area. Have that conversation. Go ahead. And you have 30 seconds to get that done. Go right ahead.